Hey everyone, welcome. It's Baron. So, Grinding Gear Games just released a kind of a manifesto about their upcoming plans for patch 0.2.1 for Path of Exile 2, and I wanted to walk through it with you because there's some pretty exciting stuff here. This is what they've got coming up. So, let's just go through line by line. First up, endgame rewards. When setting up the frequency of encounters and rewards for Path of Exile 2, we have to decide how many maps players will have to do in order to get them. After extensive playtesting, we believe we overshot the number pretty substantially. In 2.0G, we improved the baseline experience of getting rewards from monsters and chests, but we still feel you don't get enough of those exciting spike moments where something very powerful or valuable drops. There are actually some very cool items to find, but you won't ever find them because they're incredibly rare. So, in this upcoming patch, they're making these chase items more common, and they're also adding more chase items to find. Also, on the topic of unique items, going to be significantly improving both the drop rates of the incredibly rare unique items we already have, again, as well as adding a bunch of new and exciting chase uniques, as they say, to take your build to new heights. This part is interesting, though. Also, buffing some of the rare uniques that were intended to be chase but didn't live up to that standard. I'm thinking of, like in Path of Exile 1, Beano's kitchen knife, which is super duper rare. You're never going to find one, but then when you do, it's underwhelming. So they've clearly taken that to heart for Path of Exile 2, and they plan on buffing them in some way. We'll see if it works. Crafting socketables. When I first read this, I suddenly got this idea in my head that we would have the ability to craft runes. No, what they actually mean is just that they're expanding the variety of things that you can use to socket, and they're referring to that process as crafting. I don't know if I technically agree with that, but here's the upshot of it. They want more variety in the types of things that you can socket into your gear. They're adding 22 new runes, 14 soul cores, and 7 talismans. They say they're rare, but you're going to want to use these over the normal stuff, which means, in turn, you're going to want to get better and better gear with higher and higher rolls of things like resistances and attributes, because that is currently where you're often using these sockets to put in runes and soul cores that kind of shore up your chaos res and your armor and stuff like that. So this is interesting. We're going to have to see what these 22, 14, 7, what are these all doing? They are taking ritual. They are making the rarer omens more common. They are not increasing the overall drop rate of omens as a category. They're just taking the rarer ones and making them a little less rare in comparison to the other ones. You're going to find them more often. Same thing with corrupted essences. In case you don't know this, it works the same way as it does in Path of Exile 1. There's just not a special item that you have to use to corrupt essences that you find. You just use a Vol Orb on the essence, and you get this little chance of getting a special corrupted essence. Well, they're increasing the odds that you do get that corrupted essence. Rogue Exiles, they are improving the number of unique items that drop from Rogue Exiles. Now here, let's read this one out. Twisted Domain. The boss in the Twisted Domain was pretty valuable, but as an endgame area, the rest of it was pretty underwhelming compared to the other content you were doing at the time. Pinnacle content shouldn't be giving less rewards than the dozens of maps required to gain access to it. I agree with that completely. Well said. To start with, we have substantially increased the number of rare monsters that spawn during the domain. Sounds good. Previously, there would often be no rare monsters at all. Yeah, that's no bueno. In addition, we have changed the balance of quantity and rarity that monsters in the domain have. This will mean that the large drop of items that occurs right before the boss fight should now be way more valuable than before. Okay, guess we'll have to see how the numbers work out on that, how they tweaked it, but that sounds promising. We now also guarantee some breach rings in the resulting drop, so you should come away with at least a decent chance of some powerful items. Seems good overall. Expedition logbooks. This one is very close to my heart. I love logbooks from Path of Exile 1 and 2. One thing that makes them unrewarding is the fact that at very high levels, they have so few monsters spawning that they often end up yielding, again, like the Breach one, less items than a regular endgame map. So they are increasing the distance between explosive and the radius of explosives. This will allow you to ultimately uncover more monsters and rewards. Good point. That's true. Increasing the number of monsters spawned to be more reflective of an endgame map. Great. Specific features found in each different logbook area. Interesting. They're giving them more identity here. So Lush Isle uh, currently has Karui Totem remnants that cost the monsters, give substantially increased experience. It also has fenced-off areas where you can explode the fence, get access to totems, drop a lot of currency items, and on the beaches there are small corruption pustules that drop uncut skill gems. To improve this area, increasing the number of remnants, especially the experienced ones. So they're kind of giving you this identity that if you want to do a logbook for experience, you could focus on the Lush Isle area. Generating more fenced off sections. Yeah, so basically all of these are this idea of making it more interesting to choose a specific location from a logbook. You know, in Path of Exile 1, the big thing with logbook locations, the actual like type of map that you would run, was you would choose it based on how the layout favored, whether it had clusters of good remnants and so forth, and there was just some layouts that clustered them badly. Well, this is giving you a little bit more choice and a little bit more agency. Like, why would you choose one over the other, all other things being equal? So that's very interesting. I like that. Good. Moving on, endgame content and variety of improvements. Second main focus is that we're going to increase the variety of running endgame maps. Right now, do you know that if you were to generate 400,000 maps, that 150,000 of them would be Hidden Grotto? I wouldn't have guessed that it would be quite that extreme, but I hear where they're coming from, and I do believe it now that they say it. So they're increasing the variety. You're more likely to get different maps, rarer maps. Now, this next one I love. Citadel spawning been adjusted. When a citadel is generated on the atlas, it ensures that the other two types of citadels spawn near it. This is good for everyone. This is good for trade league players. This is good for solo self-found players. Particularly for them, I'm a trade league player, and I still appreciate this. Yeah, I love the idea that once I come across a citadel, I know in my mind that there's like a lot that I've just discovered. I've discovered a big pile of fun stuff. It's great. This makes sense. It doesn't apply to areas you've already discovered. You have to go and generate more new areas for this change to take effect. That's fine. Other endgame improvements, reducing the danger of the ritual types that were a ruckus of purple chaos explosions. Yeah, I think we all know that one. That was a shit show. Reducing danger, increasing telegraphing of volatile plants. Great. Yeah, combined these were responsible for over half of all the player deaths in the endgame. That's crazy. I knew they were responsible for a lot of my deaths, but over half of all player deaths is crazy talk. So I'm glad that they're looking at the numbers on this. Wow. That's amazing. Next up, lowering some of the more dangerous map modifiers. Ellie Pen. Yeah. Improving the rewards and visibility of omens in the Viridian Wild. Okay, yep. Increasing the radius. Yeah, this one I like. I was just complaining about this to myself today. Increasing the radius to open clasp hands and breaches. It actually feels worse than it does in PoE 1, where they only recently made the change in PoE 1 that you could kind of walk near a clasped hand and have it open. You used to have to click on it. And somehow it feels like they took a step back in PoE 2, where you had to get so close to the clasped hand that you might as well have walked up to it and clicked on it. So this is good. I'm glad they're paying attention to this. Reducing pack size of shotgunning mobs. Rework curse map mods. Cool. Love that. Trial of the Sekimas. This is good. I don't know if they're going far enough in Trial of the Sekimas. Yes, it's good. Adjust the affliction that causes you to have no energy shield. It halves your energy shield instead. That's still super punishing. That's really punishing. They say they discovered a mistake with the chances of getting certain afflictions and boons. There was one affliction, 2 minor boons, 1 major boon, and 1 pact that had 100 times the commonality they should have. First of all, that's insane, and I don't understand how that happens, but never mind. It did, and they're fixing it. I just don't know if fixing that... This isn't really the change that I'm looking for. Like, I don't care about which afflictions and boons are spawning often and less often, unless the affliction that was spawning was, like, really, really bad. They don't name it here. You'll note they don't actually say which affliction it was, but like unless it was a really egregious one, I don't care so much that one particular one was spawning more frequently. I care about the fact that it's just like there's way too much of a focus on getting afflictions in Sekima and less focus on getting boons. I said this in my recent video with Jorgen on Ascendancy Trials, that like it should be more like a roguelike game, where it should be more focused on what can I do to strategically power myself up, not what can I do to strategically not screw myself over with affliction. So anyways, this is good, but it's not as far as I would have liked them to have gone. Next up, quality of life and user experience changes. This is cool. When you search for passives on the skill tree, you can press enter to cycle between the nodes that have that wording in it, whatever it is. That's kind of cool. Pressing enter will continue to cycle through them. Also darkens the rest of the passive tree to help bring the search nodes to the foreground. I agree with that. I think it's good. I still prefer Path of Buildings system, which has the identical skill tree, but just puts a nice bright red circle around them. Maybe grinding your games figures that that's too ugly, but I don't know. It's effective for what it does. Still, this is a step in the right direction. Next one. This is huge. I love it. Huge request has been that we invert the display of tier X on items when using advanced item display. I agree with them that this is more for advanced and endgame players, but everything they say here is right. It's very important to being able to quickly assess the true power of an item or if it's an appropriate crafting base. So if you're unfamiliar, basically if you hold Alt when looking at an item, when hovering over an item, each mod has a certain tier. And in Path of Exile 1, tier 1 was always the best, and then it would kind of cascade down from there. The trouble is that different types of mods have different numbers of tiers. It's not like all of them have exactly 10 tiers. Some of them have 2, 4, 10, 12. It's all different. Well, in Path of Exile 2, originally, they had changed it to be the other way around, so that the top number tier was the best. So on an item that could roll, or on a mod that could roll up to 4 tiers, tier 4 was the best. On an item that could roll up to 10 tiers, tier 10 was the best. But it never told you. The item didn't say, this is what this mod can roll up to. So you would be looking at it and you're like, yeah, 8. 8 seems probably good, I guess, but this is a body armor. Does this life mod go up to 12 maybe? Because body armors scale life really high? You would never know for sure. Well, not by looking at it. You'd have to pull up a resource like Craft of Exile. Now it's going to be visible right in-game. This is player-friendly for newer players, for more advanced players. I think everybody wins here by making this swap. Anyways, moving on. On the atlas, when you hover over a map, it'll separate categories of modifiers displayed so you can more easily see where those modifiers are coming from. So you can now determine if they're from corrupted or cleansed influence. That makes sense. This is good. Nothing huge here, but I like the quality of life. Performance improvement coming, improving the physics on monsters and NPCs, making them cheaper cost for your CPU. This is good. This is just a pure performance improvement. I like this. Interesting that they're talking about issues with the Ferrodin in Act 2 and Freythorn in Act 1. When I think of performance issues associated with NPCs, I hope I'm not the only one thinking like Act 3 is conspicuous by its absence here, right? Like loading into Act 3 town is painful. Maybe it's the physical assets in that town, not the NPCs. Maybe it's the crazy time travel portal thing in that town, which I've got other complaints about. I don't know, but I hope that they've got that on their radar. Also made some improvements to the shop and cosmetics panel, including equip all. This is all good. This is all fine. But overall, there is some good stuff here that I really like. I love switching the tier ranking system so that what used to be a tier 12 or 8 or 10 or whatever the best one, now it's just all going to say tier 1 if it's the best. Love that. What else is really excellent here? Love that this business that was responsible for over half of player deaths, that is being improved. I think that's great. The Citadel change, having all 3 spawn near each other, I think is amazing. The improved rune and or where do we go? Sorry, that's further up. The improved rune drops and soul core drops, those are good. They're promising. We'll have to see exactly what they are. Um, what else did I think was really good? Yeah, just generally, hopefully, it depends on the numbers, but hopefully the increase in drop rate for nice, powerful endgame unique items and the improvement of items that were already pretty rare. I like the idea of that. And again, it kind of depends on the numbers that they go with, but we'll just have to see. Overall, I think this is a step in the right direction. I think that grinding gear games are paying attention and they're trying on this. This is promising to me not just for the specific changes that are being made, but for the kind of the focus of it and the attitude about it. Like it seems like they are paying attention to the things that I'm thinking about, that I'm worried about with the game. So I say kudos. It's not perfect, but we're still in open access, and I hope that the changes continue. So thank you for tuning in, and take it easy.